Finally, the Hyundai Ioniq 9 has been revealed, or the Hyundai as we say here in Australia, Ioniq 9. Actually, it's a bit better than the Kia EV9. So if you've placed an order for a Kia EV9 and not taken delivery yet, you might want to watch this video, and that might change your mind as to why it's better. Well, there's one key reason. Really just comes down to one thing, I think, which is probably the most crucial feature in an electric car. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. I have an electric SUV, the Xpeng G6, and I highly recommend them. One of the great features about the Xpeng G6 is it charges really, really fast. So does the new Hyundai Ioniq 9. The Ioniq 9 can charge from 10 to 80% in 24 minutes, which is pretty good considering the fact it has a very big battery. It's got a 110 kilowatt hour NMC battery, so nickel, manganese, cobalt, lithium ion battery. And that means that it has one big advantage over the Kia EV9. It has a approximately 10% bigger battery pack, so therefore it has significantly more range. In fact, it has 610 kilometers of WLTP range, so probably around 400 miles EPA range. That's a big advantage, right? The Kia, the EV9 max range is 540 kilometers, so 10% less range. Essentially, the Ioniq 9 has 10% more range with the rear-wheel drive version. Those numbers we know for sure. Those numbers have come from Hyundai. We don't have the numbers yet for the all-wheel drive versions. There's two different all-wheel drive versions, but the rear-wheel drive version also gets one advantage to give it that extra range, and that is smaller wheels. Bigger wheels are a disadvantage in every way. So smaller wheels, they're 19-inch rims, and that means, yeah, like I said, really good range for a vehicle this size. When I say a vehicle this size, this thing is big. It's almost the same size as a Kia EV9, but it has a slightly longer wheelbase, so the interior space should be a little bit bigger. In fact, the interior space is enormous. It has more space on the inside than a Toyota Land Cruiser. It has nearly 1,400 litres of cargo space behind the rear seats. Now, if you put the rear three seats back down, the third row seats, then the space goes down to around 400 litres. But as you would expect, I mean, you've got seats in the way, so you're going to reduce that space. But if you drive it like people will most of the time with those rear seats down, those rear three seats at the back down, you have a massive amount of space, 1,400 litres. You could fit several bikes in there, probably some surfboards as well in this car. This would be a perfect family car. I'd really like it. So the Hyundai Ioniq 9, what else, how else is it any different to the Kia EV9? Well, same charging speed, 350 kilowatt charging speed, potentially, theoretically. Probably not going to hit 350 kilowatt, to be honest, in the real world, to tell you the truth. But still, if you can charge the battery in 24 minutes from 10 to 80%, then that's really good for a battery pack of this size. Like I said, it's a big battery. In terms of the styling, I mean, clearly it's a very different when it comes to styling to the Kia EV9. It's less boxy, it looks more probably aerodynamically efficient, but not quite as good looking. I think the front of it looks good. The rear is exceptionally polarizing. People on the internet are saying stuff like, this is ugly. The front to me looks good. The rear, yeah, I can kind of agree with them. The rear looks a bit weird. I'm not sure what they were thinking there. So yeah, you're not going to buy this vehicle because it's an exercise in style or it's some kind of really fashionable looking car. It's not really that. It's really more of a practical vehicle. Now, the fastest version of this, the all-wheel drive version, which obviously has less range than the rear-wheel drive, we don't know what range it has yet, that hasn't been revealed yet. It can do 0 to 62 miles an hour, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 5.2 seconds. It's not a rocket ship, but that's pretty fast for a vehicle this size. There'll be 6 and 7 seat versions available too. Now, there will be a Genesis option coming apparently, but first of all, details on this. What else have I missed out so far? Well, the rear-wheel drive version of this vehicle with the longest range has 214 horsepower. That is 160 kilowatt, 350 newton meters of torque. That's 258 pound-feet of torque. I mean, it's, I think, a little bit underpowered. It'll do 0 to 100, 0 to 62 miles an hour in a bit over 9 seconds. Yeah, a little slow, but anyway, that's the real practical choice here. Less power, less weight, and it's going to get you more range. Now, speaking of range, Hyundai says its official EPA range is 385 miles. Now, I don't know if that's WLTP or EPA, but anyway, it's around 385 miles. So that's actually really good range, I think. Pricing here in Australia, the price is said to be similar to the Kia EV9. So it'll start around 100,000 Australian dollars. And in the US, similar price to the Kia EV9 as well. So around about 65,000, 60 to 65,000 US dollars. It will compete, of course, with other cars like the Kia EV9, but also the Rivian R1S and also the new Cadillac. The new Cadillac is very similar in size, in fact, a bit bigger than this, and has better performance and more range. So the new Cadillac is definitely worth having a look at. I'll put a link in the description below to my video on the new Caddy. So the all-wheel drive version adds a front motor, which has 94 horsepower and 70 kilowatt, and 255 newton meters, which is 188 pound-feet of torque. So that means in total, that model should have around 230 kilowatt. So, still not a huge amount of power. That's the long-range all-wheel drive though. If you want to get the performance all-wheel drive, which is the 5.2 seconds 0 to 100, that one has a 160 kilowatt front motor and 160 kilowatt rear motor, giving it 320 kilowatts in total and 700 newton meters of torque. So a lot of power, but it's going to get less range. That model's probably going to get closer to 500 kilometers of range. So probably around 300 miles of range for the all-wheel drive version. The long-range all-wheel drive, I would estimate, would get around 350 miles of range and probably 540 kilometers, around approximately those numbers. So this has pretty good range. Now, Hyundai won't say what this car weighs. I don't know why, but they haven't revealed that information yet. But they did say it has a domain control unit, which incorporates dynamic torque vectoring for better handling and lateral wind stability control for secure high-speed driving. I haven't tested this thing on a track, obviously. I have tested the Zeekr 009 on a track, which is actually the 009 is a little bigger than this, and it was amazing on track. So it's true that even large EVs can handle really well, as long as their suspension isn't too soggy and soft, which it can be in American and Chinese cars. The Ioniq 9 has a terrain traction control system, and what Hyundai claims is an AI-powered auto terrain mode that detects road surfaces and adjusts the drive mode accordingly. The suspension system is specially engineered for an electric SUV with a McPherson multi-link setup at the front and a multi-link system at the rear. Although it lacks air suspension, which would have been a good feature because, air suspension, one of the really good features about this is that you can lower the car to get more range when you're driving on the freeway. Anyhow, it does have self-leveling suspension dampers. So basically like magnetic dampers that will give you a more comfortable ride. And that's a good feature. Towing, you can tow with this. In fact, you can tow quite a lot. You can tow 2,500 kilograms. It's about 5,400 pounds of towing. That's pretty decent. So that is braked towing. But anyhow, in trailer mode, the vehicle automatically detects the trailer's weight and adjusts the predicted range and performance balance, maintaining a 50-50 front to rear motor torque distribution. In addition to that, there is a full width front light bar, which is kind of unique. I think it looks good. I'm a fan of the front. The rear, bizarre. The rear is called a boat tail. It does look a bit like a boat tail. Drag coefficient is 0.259 when fitted with digital side mirrors. So you can see digital side mirrors do make a big difference. Those may or may not be legal in your country. We'll have to find out soon. What else do we know? Well, there's 16 different exterior colors, including gray matte, cosmic blue pearl, and you also have a choice of wheels, 19, 20, or 21. And honestly, like I always say, get the 19-inch wheels. You get more range, the tires are cheaper, the car will be more comfortable. It's just a no-brainer. Get the 19s. So the actual size of this vehicle, like I said, basically the same as the Kia EV9, 5 meters long, 5,060 millimeters, 1,980 millimeters wide, height 1,790 millimeters, wheelbase 3,130 millimeters, and boot space is 1,323 liters with the third row folded. But if the third row is up, it actually has 620 liters. So I got that wrong at the start, sorry. 620 liters with the third row up. That's a lot of boot space. It does have a frunk, 88 liters if you get the rear-wheel drive, or smaller, all-wheel drive, the front motor eats into the frunk space a bit. Then it comes with a 52-liter frunk if you get the all-wheel drive version. Now, speaking of the inside of the car, it does look good on the inside. I think they've done a nice job on the interior. There is a 12-inch digital instrument cluster and a 12-inch infotainment touchscreen. in the curved display. Now, I personally don't like these 12-inch screens. I think they're too narrow. A lot of manufacturers use them. I much prefer 15-inch screens because you get a lot more real estate when you're actually navigating. And the main purpose of these screens, what you use them most of the time for, is navigating, having a map up on your screen, right? And with these 12-inch screens, you only have a small amount of map that you can follow. So I think manufacturers should go for those boxier screens. Maybe they're not as fashionable, but they actually work more practically. It has a Bose 14-speaker sound system. Actually, apparently that's optional. It also has optional relaxation seats, fully reclining seats in the first and second rows with leg rests, swiveling second row seats. Those second row seats can point in the opposite direction, allowing passengers to face people in the third row. A slidable front console, which offers up to 190 millimeters of movement. So that front console, you can see it doesn't quite hit the dash. You can slide that around and do some fancy things with it, which is actually a cool feature. I think it looks like it can slide over your waist. So if you're driving, you have easy access to some snacks or some drinks, that sort of thing. Other good feature, it has shift by wire with a column mounted shifter that provides haptic feedback when the vehicle is in reverse. All right, does it have vehicle to grid? No, it doesn't, unfortunately. It has vehicle to load. So I'm not sure what the vehicle to load numbers are yet, but we'll find out soon. It does get 2 high output 100 watt USB-C ports for passengers across the first, second, and third rows, delivering power directly from the vehicle's high voltage battery instead of a 12 volt battery. 12 volt battery. Hyundai EVs have had problems with their 12 volt batteries because they've been lead acid. Has it been changed to a lithium iron phosphate battery? I don't know. Unfortunately, that's something you want to ask before you make a purchase. So let's have a look at the safety features. It has autonomous emergency braking, blind spot assist, blind spot view monitor, driver attention warning, lane keep assist, rear occupant alert, rear cross traffic assist, safe exit assist, intelligent speed assist, and on the passive side, it has 10 airbags, including third row seat belt pre-tensioners. Now, keep in mind, the Kia EV9 starts at 91,000 Australian dollars, around about 60,000 US dollars. Because this has a bigger battery, it might be a little bit more expensive than that, but I think the price will still be relatively reasonable for a vehicle this size. So getting back to that performance, the base model does it at 9.4 seconds, 0 to 62 miles an hour. The long range all-wheel drive does it in 6.7 seconds, and the performance model does it in 5.2 seconds. Of course, the faster you want to go, the actual less range you're going to get. So when is this vehicle actually available? Well, it's going to first launch in Korea and the United States in the first half of 2025 before expanding to Europe and Australia later next year. So for an Australian launch, you're probably looking about the third or fourth quarter of next year. The US should be the first or second quarter of next year, along with South Korea as well. So these details should be for the vehicles across numerous countries, whether you're in Europe, the US, Korea, Australia. These numbers should be similar, but I'll do another video on this vehicle when it comes to market. Hopefully I'll get to test drive one. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Bye-bye.